Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Even Screezilla here, and I hope you're all well. And you join me on the dev server. Now, I would have made this video earlier, but I kind of fell asleep at my desk. So if I'm looking a little bit dishevelled and not too great, it's because I fell asleep at my desk. Yay! Anyway, so dev server. Let's see what we get. Well, if you're looking for anything mid to low tier, you're absolutely gonna have to keep looking. There is nothing interesting coming out mid to low tier, at least in this dev server. Of course, other dev servers can appear. There are so many things that are frustrating. For one, the Voltaire 1A Israeli Defense Force is the premium model, of course. But with this, you do get the option of the Sharafi air-to-air missile. Actually, select it. So you get the air-to-air missile in the premium variant, but the standard tech tree variant still has nothing like that, which is just very frustrating. Basically, some nations are absolutely screwed for air-to-air combat with missiles, so to say. They have got the MD 460, which is the new sort of supersonic jet. Looks a bit like a Super Sabre. It's, yeah, that's it. And you do get Sidewinder missiles with it. So, you know, that's something. Oh, so you get ignored. Okay, so you get the Sidewinder and where are we? The AS-29 Nord missiles, which I believe they're going as a rocket, but I've got a feeling they're slightly different from the standard variant of rocket. I'll have to try and think. I think actually a guided system. Oh, having to actually think, that's a hard thing to do. Anyway, yeah, so if you play French, then, you know, you're in the same spot, basically. The standard tech tree variants of the Voltaire do not get any air-to-air missiles. It's only the premium. So, if you saw my last video, you know my feelings on this kind of thing that's going on. And basically, it's just like, oh, if you want to actually have fun and actually have these cool new things, you have to buy our premium variants, you know, and that's really, really frustrating. It's just like, well, seriously, you know, you can't just put some in the standard tech tree. The Voltaire did use air-to-air missiles. The French did use it. Of course, this is the one that was used in the, I think it was the Yom Kippur Wars. Absolutely beautiful jet, though. Again, fantastic cockpit. There's also a fantastic jet bomber. Just turn down the sound, sorry. A fantastic jet bomber. All of that stuff. But you have to. You're going to have to actually buy the premium to actually have any air-to-air missile capability, which is just very frustrating. you know, it's one of those things that's just, you know, like seriously, you know, you can't just add some sort of standard tech tree, you know, give us some actual vehicles with a standard tech tree that have these, you know, only a single, pretty much, if you don't buy premium, you've only got a single plane that will have air-to-air missiles for France. So it's a very unbalanced system yet again. You know, some nations are very good, they've got some really good air-to-air missiles, they've got some really good sort of some really good options for missiles and things like that. I'm just going to get these right now. You know, it's just very frustrating to play these nations and not get these items. It just returns a hanger. So yeah, so France is has got that. Helicopter wise, the French have actually got helicopters now, that's great. You've got the H-34, which is just terrible. It has got some ATGMs though as standard, which is kind of, well, not standard, you have to no, they're standard actually, so that is something that's good. So so you've got ATGMs as standard. But of course this is a 9.0 helicopter, of course, of Kios, so yeah, you can't take it out, sort of like the 8.01 for the Americans, so again a very unbalanced system. You've got the Alouette A, the Alouettes, and the Gazelles, so some really cool helicopters, and then the IAR, which is the IAR, which I can't remember the actual name of the helicopter that it was based off of, but it was based off of a French helicopter we don't actually get in game in the regular tech tree. So again, that's just, you know, fantastic work, Gaijin. Awesome job. You know, we've got the two Alouettes, and instead of that we have the you know, yeah. Yeah, actually this might be, I think this actually is the one, so no, that's okay. More modern variant, as you can see, very cool little helicopter. And this is just basically the yep, the Romanian Air Force copy. Built by IAR under license. So yeah, you know, it's a cool helicopter. 9.3 though, so it's really quite high VR. If you get this in combination with the tank, which of course is the AMX-30, you're kind of screwing yourself over, because that's a 7.7 tank and you're taking out a 9.3 helicopter. France doesn't get any ground vehicles. Yep, that's it for France, you know. Just do what you have to do, France, you know. Good job. So the AMX-40 is still France's top tank, so no Leclerc, unfortunately. Off to Italy, and Italy ground forces is a bit barren. However, you do get the Ariete B, which was the pre-production version. So Garriott, awesome tank. As you can see, it's sort of like it's just sort of a little bit cross between like Challenger 2, Abrams, sort of that sort of area of vehicle. Armor wise, very good armor because it's got, of course, composite armor in it. However, it's be interesting to see because it is full composite armor around, but of course the lower glaciers is unprotected. But if you're looking at the tanks that we're facing, so 9.7, if we go to America and we take out, let's face it, you're going to be facing Abrams sort of constantly. Take out the M1 Abrams, and of course we will use the standard standard shell for it. Yeah, as you can see, it's you're gonna die a lot. The protection is good for what it's needed for, but it's not going to be very good in game, unfortunately. Modification wise, you do get the DM23 as standard, which is good, and then DM33, so 400 odd millimeter penetration, which means you are going to be able to penetrate the enemy tanks though. So it's a good tank. The gun is a good gun. The 120mm Breda Auto is a good gun, so it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, it's cool to have it, but it's not going to be. It's just that little bit below the other nation's top tier tanks. So it's sort of like it's sort of like the Challenger 1 sort of area. For aviation, of course, we do get the SM92, which is a twin fighter, twin vehicle. Good, you do get some pilot glass. Modification wise, this thing can carry a lot of bombs on board, so 2 500 kilogram bombs, which is decent, so it's going to be good for ground attacking. Gun wise, it has got 3 20mm guns and then 4 12mm machine guns, and then it's also got a tail gun as well. So I've got a gun behind it, which is another 12.7mm gun. As you can see, it's not actually movable, so you've just got to move your plane to actually shoot it. I don't really know how much use it's going to be, but you do have your gunner, of course, sitting in the back there. So it's sort of like an IL-2 sort of shaped cockpit. Interesting plane though, very cool. I am looking forward to getting it. The rear gun's probably not going to be that much use, but the front guns definitely are. You know, it's going to be pretty deadly head on. Then we also get the G91YS, which is not a supersonic vehicle, but it does get some air-to-air missiles. It's a cool plane though. Don't get me wrong, it is a cool plane. You've got the Sidewinder, of course, the AIM-9 Sidewinder, and then you've also got a lot of bomb options as well. So that's really cool. Really nice looking plane. 30mm guns on this one instead of 50 cals, so that's kind of interesting. So some big 30mm guns. Yeah, very nice plane. That will be decent, but again, for air combat, maybe not quite as much. The G91 gets the Mighty Mouse now as well. I think that might be something that is new. I can't remember exactly. But again, no other planes get the get any form of air-to-air missiles. So again, it's going to be quite unbalanced with the way it goes. Also, Italy doesn't get a top rank premium either to help grind out those vehicles, so again, it's very unbalanced for some nations. Off to Japan, and Japan gets, of course, the F86 F40, which is the same as the Tech Tree variant. However, the Tech Tree variant, the Tech Tree variant does get sidewinders, good. So you have got some form of sidewinder in the Tech Tree variant, so your regular Tech Tree saber, which is one of the best sabers in game, but of course you do get the option of getting this premium, and I must admit I am very tempted to get this because it's just gorgeous looking. Just the paint scheme alone is enough to win me over. Very cool plane, very good. Modification wise, you get some AIM-9 sidewinders, along with some HVAR and some 100-pound bombs. So this will be a very, very good backup vehicle. Sorry, a very good ground attacking vehicle. Yeah, it's a good saber. Premium though, so you know, is it worth $50? Probably not. But it will help you grind out this thing, the Mitsubishi T2. This is a plane I think everybody's going to want to get. It's the most modern sort of the supersonic vehicles, and it's the fastest plane in game with a speed of over 1,000 miles per hour, which is insane. That's a very fast plane. Of course, this is actually a training aircraft, but it does get weapons, so it's got a lot of weapon options. Because of course it was a trainer, it has a lot of different weapon loadouts, so you've got a lot of ground attacking options. You've got the AIM-9, of course, but you also get the two different AIM-9s actually. The AIM-9 B and the E, which is the more modern variant, which is a slightly better variant. It's basically it's got more maneuverability, so you get the chance of getting the good sidewinder as well as having a lot of ground ordnance as well. 5 750-pound bombs on board. That's the same as the Voltaire carries. So yeah, very heavy payload capability of this plane. But just look at this thing, it is just bloody gorgeous. This is the best looking plane in game, and of course you have the 20mm Gatling gun underneath there as well. So yeah, that's a very, 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 very cool plane. The 20mm Gatling gun has 750 rounds. You're going to go through them very, very quickly. Of course, one of the issues with the Gatling gun is you have to spin it up, so I don't know if it'll be pre-spinning or if you have to actually spool it up slightly to get shots off, but still, who cares? This thing is just gorgeous. Of course, being the sort of modern supersonic jet, the wing area is very small, so you're going to really struggle at low speeds with this plane. It's going to be horrible at low speeds, but supersonic speed, oh yes, it's just so cool. But nothing else in the Tech Tree. For ground vehicles, we've got the Type 74G, which is the modernisation package. It's a 9.0 premium. It's a Type 74, just with slightly better armour. You also have the side skirts here, which just protect the tracks a little bit, just gives that a little bit of extra armour for against heat shells. Frontally though, same armour, you know, it's very much the same. It is a very cool vehicle. It is again a vehicle I would like to own, but again it is just money. Same tank as the regular Tech Tree variant though, same rounds, things like that, so nothing different there. And Type 90, nothing new on the Type 90, so that's cool. But of course Type 87 now has a radar, so let's just quickly take this out, because radar is one of the big things that's coming into game, and it's very big news. It's very interesting. Not everything's got it, but as you can see, the radar, you can just see that little blip on the radar there. Okay, there's a plane there. Let's get it on and just check the controls quickly. Because I just wonder. We've got the radar search options, so I have to just set these quickly. Okay, so we've got the radar lock-on systems as well, which basically just gives us the marker. We have got some different radar options available to us. You can of course turn the radar on and off. And there is of course the option of putting the radar down as well. So there's some cool options on board. It will take a while to actually figure out what's going on with the radar, get it absolutely right of course, but it is kind of very neat. And there we go, radar lock on, that's what I wanted to do. So the radar lock, you can see there we've actually got a lock on, and that will actually give us the ability to actually I think it's only in certain views, but this lets you get a better lead, I think, on the plane. And yeah, stuff that we're gonna have to play with to actually get right. But the radar is very cool. As you can see, the plane's gone off our radar. It is of course aerial sweep radar, so we won't get ground vehicles and stuff showing up. But yeah, it's a very cool system. Going to need some time to actually practice and get used to it and actually work out the exact way it works. I'll probably do a video on that at some stage. So yeah, radar is in there, blah blah blah, and of course all the other vehicles. Yeah, there's no. The only ground vehicle is a premium, of course, so there's no ground vehicles for Japan. So not a huge amount of updates there. Now for Britain, ground vehicles very sparse until we get to, of course, the Challenger 2. Challenger 2 is finally in game. Charlie 2 is a very cool tank, very interesting tank, very good protection. Pretty much the sides, the cheeks are pretty much impenetrable, but the frontal area here is going to be penned by most things. If we look, you can see there is actually some form of composite actually around this area, so your gun breach is going to get knocked out a lot, but your crew should hopefully survive. But yeah, the Challenger 2, very modern, very cool. If we look at the modifications, you get the L26 shot, which I believe would be I think that's a depleted uranium shell from memory. Very fast, very high penetration. Standard shell is still decent penetration, and of course you get HESH as an option as well. The HESH is still a really useful shell to have, but yeah, Challenger 2. it's very cool to see this in game. It's very scary as well, because this thing is just an absolute beast of a tank. Hull down, this thing is going to be pretty much invincible. We'll just go to the X-ray and protection analysis, and we'll go for Germany. Oh no, we'll go Russia, sorry. We'll go Russia, and we'll go for TATU. And TATU, you can see it can penetrate, it can penetrate the gun area. It's going to go through the breach, things like that, and that's using the standard shell, of course, which is the standard one. If we look at their top tier fin stabilized, then it's going to be able to penetrate a little bit easier through the gun breach and possibly kill some crew members, but the cheeks are still pretty much impenetrable. The top here, it's got a chance of being penetrated, so this tank you're going to want to actually sort of sit a bit like this, to have a gun down a little bit, just to make it a little bit, this top bit less prone to penetrations, because the issue is going to be is people are going to aim for this spot and they're going to penetrate you and usually get some kills, things like that. The front of a tank, again, penetrable through some areas. The driver's hatch is still, of course, the biggest weak point, and the lower glaciers has got some decent protection now, but it's still going to get penetrated by a lot of things. But still, it's hull down, this thing is going to be an absolute beast of a thing. It's very cool to have in game, and yeah, I'm glad to see it, and I'm sure a lot of other people are as well. If we look at the fleet, we've actually got the Leander class cruiser. The Leander class, of course, is one of the light cruisers. A lot of 6-inch guns, so some very decent guns on board. 6-inch gun, decent penetration, decent shell range. 6 inches, 150 millimeters, I think, off the top of my head. I always hate the British 6-inch. I wish we'd get a millimeter scale. But this thing has got some really good armor protection. The actual armor is protecting the ammunition. 89 millimeters of armor on the ammunition section, and then 76 millimeters of belt armor. So some really good protection on this thing. You also got some protection on the crew as well, in the wheelhouse and the cabin and stuff. So this will be a decent cruiser. Good firepower, good speed. It's a decent cruiser. The Leander class was always decent. So shell wise, yep, again very good. So 152 millimeters shell. The shells are very, very decent size. So yeah, very good little cruiser, this one. Hasn't actually been announced via the War Thunder news yet, but it will, I'm sure, soon. So the Leander class is what the British will be getting, so it's good to see the Royal Navy is actually getting an extra cruiser. But that's it for extra things there. Then we go to aviation, of course, and we have got the Seahawk, which yeah, it's okay, it's going to be fine. Modifications, it does get some just gets sort of standard weapon loadout, nothing super spectacular. Unguided rockets, and yeah, that's about it really. It's a decent little plane. So the Javelin remains the only plane I think that Britain gets that has the has any form of guided missile, which is just glorious. Gotta love it. The fact that the British don't get a Seahawk variant that has a guided missile is just typical, really. Yeah, so basically there is no guided missiles that I've sort of noticed, unless the meteors get something, but no, again, nothing there. So yeah, but one thing we do have, of course, is we have aerial radar as well. So if we just look at the radar, we'll just take out the sea venom. Aerial radar is not going to be much use, really, because it's only very useful for night fighting. I do wonder if they've modelled it in the cockpit, so that's going to be something I'm just going to find out. Might make this plane somewhat useful in game. I don't think there's any actual. The trouble is, there's no aerial targets in this test fight, so we're not going to actually see it in action. But basically, it's just going to. If you've got a plane in front of you, you're actually going to be able to tell. It's going to pick up on the radar at 9-kilometer distance, so good radar range. But yeah, that's it. Does not look like the internal radar is working. Also, for some reason, the pilots are still in their World War II attire. So yeah, aerial radar. Oh, there we go. We've actually got some planes. So we should pick up these Lancasters. Should actually show up on radar, but maybe only enemy planes show up on radar, which is daft. Just make sure I'm not being a complete moron. There we go. Radar is on. Getting a little bit close to those guys. Let's just see if we can actually pick up those. Yeah, Lancasters, can't really see quickly. But basically it's a frontal radar, so only going to pick up planes from the front, so actually get this walrus over. We should start to see, there we go, planes are appearing on our radar in front of us. This will be very useful for things like sim battle, stuff like that. Aerialistic battle, things like that, where you don't get the tags. Hopefully this means that Gaijin are going to remove the stupid tag markers from realistic battle. It would be really, really nice to have that. And the other thing, of course, is you also get the radar guided lock bomb system as well. For your guns, you should be able to actually get some better aiming modes for the planes. Of course, I'll show you because these are, of course, friendlies. So radar, yes, it's a thing, and people are going to get used to it, and it's going to be something that people are going to have to get used to, and it's going to be something that's going to be quite interesting to have in game. But yeah, currently only a few vehicles have it. Yeah, we will continue on. So we've done the British all looked at. Russia, good old USSR. Russia don't get any new planes, so no new planes for Russia, which is just always interesting because they usually get something, but no new planes for Russia. Naval, of course, they get the Kirov heavy cruiser. It's not a light cruiser, it's a heavy cruiser. So 9 180mm guns, good armour, as you can see, very well armoured, and all the ammunition is very well protected. So yeah, this thing's going to be an absolute nightmare to face in game. It's going to be very, very strong. The guns are going to be pretty accurate because they're quite a long barrel gun, so yeah, they're going to be very annoying. Low reload rate, but again, it's going to be very, very strong in naval. Nothing else added though, everything else is remaining the same. We do have a chance to look at the Leningrad, which is the, of course, the prize you'll get for completing the tasks. Leningrad, yeah, we know the kind of cruiser, we've got one on the game already. Decent cruise though. This one has a bit more anti-aircraft variation to it though, so a lot of secondary and anti-aircraft guns to this version. So if we look at the gun variants, we've got quite a lot of anti-aircraft guns on this one compared to the Leningrad type Moskva. The Moskva has a little bit less anti-aircraft defense. So Russian naval, not much interesting. Helicopters, not much interesting. The only interesting thing is the premium helicopter now actually gets the infrared protection, so you can either have the ICRCM on it or the flares, basically just to stop you getting to help block enemy missiles. So you have got that sort of blocking system on board now, but you still don't get modification, that's what I'm looking for. You still only get the anti-tank guided missiles, so it's something at least, but you still get the ATGMs on this thing. So that's something, and regular territory hasn't changed much. If we go to the military though, the army zone, we have the top tier AAA, yes, the Tunguska, and I don't know if this is a mistake or if I was actually just wrong or if it's how it is, but this gets anti-tank guided missiles, ATGMs. So they're a guided missile, but they're not sort of it's coming up as an ATGM. I imagine though that when you point and click, they're going to follow quite quickly, so they will work for some forms of aircraft, especially helicopters at long range. You've got the 30mm auto cannons on board, you've got the radar. If we look at the modifications though, this is the anti-tank guided missile. You get semi-automatic, yeah, and then of course the ordnance are very strong. No armour, but it's going to be a sort of decent AAA vehicle, as well as having some options for attacking ground vehicles as well. And then of course you get the T-80U, which of course is the new big bad battle tank. So T-80U, of course you got no, I've forgotten the word for it. The reactive armour on there, standard armour, and then of course you've also got your composite armour. So this thing is going to be an absolute monster of a tank. It's very low profile, as you can see. This thing is really low to the ground. If we look at the soldiers inside, you can sort of see how low to the ground they are. They're having to sort of sit in a reclined position. So yeah, very low to the ground, very, very, very cool tank. Very strong tank as well. If we look at the protection analysis, let's just go to Britain, and Challenger 2, standard shot for the Challenger 2 is not going to be able to really penetrate anywhere on the front of this tank. You'll be able to penetrate just on the top there and take out the gun breech, but you're going to be sort of stuck going through anywhere else. If you use the top shell even, so the best shell for the Challenger 2, you will have spots on the front armour that you can go through, but you're just going to eat fuel tanks through there and do really no damage. But there are some weak spots It's not impenetrable, but it's going to be very, very tricky to go through. So yeah, very, very tough tank to crack, this one. The T-80U is going to be a very, very strong vehicle. So we've looked at everything else there. Let's go to Germany. Now, Germany doesn't get anything in its regular tech tree for vehicles. No interesting stuff added, so that's really, really annoying. So I'm sure many Germans will be upset that there's no interesting tanks or anything getting added, which is a shame because there's so many things that could be added, but yeah, nothing interesting. No Leopard 2 modern variant with the pike nose on a turret, so that's sad. Helicopters, of course, you've got the helicopters. For planes, you've got the CL-13B Mark 6, the MiG-19S, and the Seahawk. Now, the German Seahawk, as you can see, the German Seahawk gets air-to-air missiles, whereas the British one doesn't. So that's always good, you know. Yay, keeping things fair. Thanks, Gaijin. So yeah, the German variant does get ATGM, air-to-air missiles, yet the standard British tech tree doesn't at the moment. Of course, it can change as a test server, yada yada yada. MiG-19S, yes, this thing is going to be an absolute beast. Big guns on this thing, nothing else though. It can carry some extra rockets and bombs, but nothing guided. It will be a good ground pounder. I expect to see a few of these in combined battles, and it's going to be dropping some bombs on people. And then finally, the CL-13B Mark 6. Oh boy, this thing is sexy. What a gorgeous, gorgeous looking plane. The paint scheme is just absolutely a winner for me. Very, very cool. Modification wise, you do get Sidewinder missiles, and you've got the 50 cals on board as well, so you've got lots and lots of 50 cals on board, which of course in War Thunder World means that they're very strong. But yeah, you do have a standard tech tree variant of plane that does get sidewinders, and it's a very strong plane as well, so that's going to be interesting to see. Of course, the DO 217 Night Fighters and the HE 219 do get a form of radar. It's a lower form of radar as the earlier form, but again, they do get it. And then for fleet, of course, we've got two new ships. We've got the Type 1936A Mob Z32, which is the destroyer. It's our first destroyer that has the famous 150mm guns on board. So the German destroyers usually carried big 150mm, so you've got some big guns on board, 15cm guns, dual turret at the front, and then single turrets at the back. Again, going to be quite a strong destroyer, no armour to speak of, but still those guns are going to cause a lot of damage. And then we have the Nuremberg. Nuremberg, of course, is the next cruiser that Germany gets. Armour wise, it's got some okay armour. It's got some slight turtleback armour as well on the inside. So you've got 50mm plus an extra 25mm, and that's angled, of course. So yeah, you've got a very good belt armour, basically a very strong bit of belt armour. Armour wise, this thing's not bad at all. It's very well armoured. It's basically a more armoured version of the Colne. Yeah, that's about it really. It's not that exciting. The Nuremberg class was a different class of vehicle, but it's not super exciting over the Colne. Yeah, it's nothing that's really going to make people go whoop-de-doo-dah over. So that, I believe, is everything for Germany. And then finally onto the good old US of A. You get the Somers class destroyer, which very heavily armoured around the citadel, sort of the engine area. And then of course the wheelhouse has actually got some armour plating on as well, which is kind of cool. Big guns, 127mm fast firing guns, dual purpose, so can be used for aircraft. Something I didn't mention with the Kirov actually is it does have a time diffuse shell on it, so you can actually use the 180mm guns for aircraft, which is kind of just scary. We also get the Brooklyn, USS Brooklyn. As you can see, really good class of ship. A lot of guns on board, so you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 guns on board. Sorry, I'm just super tired at the moment. So 15 150mm guns. This thing is going to be very, very nasty to face. Very fast firing guns, and of course it does have some very good armour as well. This is the first ship we've got which actually lets us know that it's fully armoured all the way around. It's got 16mm of armour all the way around it. Deck armour of 16mm, and then you've also got the extra protection around the internals, the engines and things like that. The ammunition is stored where the fuel tanks are, so you should give it a bit of extra protection. Yeah, it should be a very decent cruiser. This is probably one of the better cruisers of the game. This and the Kirov are going to be the new meta of cruisers. Aviation, America really doesn't get. Well, America doesn't get anything new. So there's nothing really interesting to talk about. The F3D1 does get radar, of course, but it does not get any kind of air-to-air missile, which I'm pretty sure it did carry, if memory serves me correctly. However, the FJ4Bs, they do get AIM-9 sidewinders now. So if you got the event vehicle, the US Marine Corps variant, the VMF-232, you will be able to actually unlock sidewinders on this thing and have the sidewinders actually on the plane, as well as taking out bullpups or anything like that. So you've got some really good options with this plane. So yeah, this thing is still going to be quite useful. As for everything else, the Cougar does get some sidewinders now, so you've actually got some air-to-air missiles on the Cougar, which is kind of good. And that's about it for American aircraft. The premium doesn't get any sidewinders, so again it's sort of unbalanced with premiums. Again, it's sort of, you've got a couple of premiums that do get sort of air-to-air missiles, and then a couple of premiums that don't get it, so it's really quite daft. Helicopters, not much has changed that I know of. It's all very much the same. Still have the AH-1G at 8.0, which is just ludicrous. So yeah, that's still a problem. As for Army, yeah, there's nothing interesting here, is there? Oh wait, no, there is an Abrams. So yeah, nothing else is added. Everything else really remains the same. But you do get Abrams, you get the M1A1, which is going to be quite strong. It's not impenetrable, and the M1A1 is still capable of taking damage and still capable of being killed, but it's going to make life a lot harder for those people because this thing has just got tons of composite armour. It's very strong. If we look at the protection analysis, if we go for let's go for Italy, say, and the Ariete, using a top shell, you can actually penetrate the Abrams everywhere. So It's not impenetrable, it's not invincible, it's still going to be able to take damage, and that's the main thing. But with the standard shell, I'm pretty sure you'll start struggling to pen and cheats and things like that. Of course, this is designed for heat, so heat shells are going to struggle to really do much damage anywhere to this tank. Heat shells are pretty much just designed to not really be able to do much damage anymore, and that's because of the composite armor. Of course, there's still the blow-off panels for your ammo, but yeah, the M1A1 is here. This thing is very fast, it's very good, it's very agile, it's going to be a very good main battle tank. So yeah, that's it, that's the test server. Underwhelmed really, like there's some interesting mechanics coming in, but there's so much imbalance between the nations with what does get stuff, what doesn't get stuff. Just, you know, premium vehicles getting these options while the standard tech tree variants don't. It's just very unbalanced in my opinion, and yeah, we'll see a lot of frustrated people, I'm sure, in the near future. Okay guys, well this has been my look at the test server. Sorry for being so tired. As I said, was waiting up for the test server all night and fell asleep in my chair, and that's not great because it's left me very sore, very tired, not feeling great, and yeah, that's it. So yeah, like, subscribe, blah blah blah, Discord below, join that, have a good time, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.